news came out about the RSN. It's in regards to a settlement network. And so to me, it makes sense that if you're going through all this trouble of what chain it's going to go through, is it blockchain agnostic and so on, then from there, where is it held? And then when we talk about like our biggest custodians, your Larry Finks of the world and so on, he will deny publicly that they're not the world's largest asset custodian, in which everybody knows that they are. But why is he? I always tell people he will deny that because of tax purposes. If you claim that you have ownership of all this, then all of a sudden you just open up the floodgates, and then boom, that throws them into that tax bracket. So I was pointing out also, I believe it is RSN, that then you have to have a wallet to hold this on and so on. And then we made those connections. And the beautiful thing about it, it talks specifically about and shows proof from the Lisbon, Portugal event about what Quant's doing or what they've done. Gilbert Verdian literally giving a warning or call to action, literally a oh crap moment, telling everybody there, look, if this is coming, you are running out of time. I'm giving you the opportunity, a final opportunity, basically, almost word for word, of like, this is what we got. We already tested it. We already did the pilots. It's proven itself and so on. The ball's in your court. Do you choose to take this? And I told our community, guys, do we choose to take this? This is our second chance at QNT at rock bottom. And I said it could go down further. It could go to the $40 mark. I gave a shout out to Mine Crypto. He was talking about in his video, $40 mark. But long story short, it is here, and it was talking about the unified ledger and so on. So I done a lot of talking. People always point out, they're like, man, if you have a guest, stop talking. I agree. You're here. You're our special surprise guest to everybody. Take it away, sir. What do you got?
No, this is what I'm excited about. Pardon me, but I've been on the live stream for probably 90 minutes, watching and observing and listening to the information. And then when you extended the offer, of course, I'm going to support Maximus Crypto. I rock with you, and I like the information you provide. And no, I enjoy this. I don't have a lot of people I'm around that I can have this dialogue with, so I appreciate that. One of the things that you brought up, I'm going to talk about Quant, but not from the token perspective. You brought up a few points, and I think that's important. I like to break. I'm an old country boy. That's my original roots. Just so people know, for the first time meet me, I'll give you an overview of who I am. Then I get to the topic. So by trade, my background, I'm a digital forensic scientist. I'm also have 14 certifications in cyber investigations, forensics, and the legal field. My education background, I've completed 2 years into my doctoral studies in artificial intelligence and also social media and cyber psychology, a master's degree in digital forensics, a bachelor's degrees in legal studies, and I've been working in this field for over 20 years. That's the overview. Now, one thing I do that I do for a living, that I have done for my whole life, is take complex topics and break them down in an easy, digestible way, as if I was the same young country boy that I grew up to be. I find that it's easier when you know the audience. It's easier to get information, and oftentimes with technology, there's a pushback. That's just a technological cycle. There's something new is introduced, and then after that, there's these stages, and I've talked about that before, and then there's this resistance stage. So what I appreciate is what you do, and that's how I started my channel. My first person I saw was Black Rue Investing before I had a channel, and that's what I appreciate is about when you take research and you apply it to a subject matter, and you gain information, and you then apply it. That is what it's about. So as you having this conversation about the wallets and give me this universal wallet, you are actually talking about various areas of research. And I think it's important for the audience to get that. There's no way that one person can cover all these things. And it's as frustrating, isn't it, Maximus? Because you want to give everybody everything, but you can't. There's not enough time in a day. It's difficult, but what you're doing, you're on to a lot of things. I brought up two things today, and I'm going to apply it to what we're talking about here. Now, what Maximus brought up was about this universal wallet. So I think what Maximus is showing you here is that he's seeing these connections with Quant with this particular country, and he said the word mandated, which that means that it to me implies regulation. That's why he brought up the regulation. And that's one of the things I've been telling people for years. Part of the research I conduct is part of my algorithm is I think about legislation. It doesn't matter how great a project is if the legislation is adversarial. Because if that country or organization, whether it's local, city, or federal, or whatever country you're in, has legislation that can prohibit growth, it will do exactly that. It will prohibit growth. We saw that with China when China during 2021 and COVID said that they don't want any more Bitcoin miners. And what happened? China had all those people leave from their country, and they went to where? Other countries like Texas, and excuse me, that's not a country, but they want to be places like Texas and other places around the world that are more advantageous to crypto. That took money out. But what is China doing? And that's one of the things I'll bring up. Maximus, you don't mind? I have the first one that has the Chinese flag, which I think is
Absolutely. I don't mind at all. I welcome it. Thank you. Let's go ahead and share this.
This is one slide from a 4-hour research conversation I have on Swift, Metapath, and billionaire connections and going through money. Now, I'm only going to share this one part of you. This is from September 23rd, 2022. Did you know that China was the uncrowned king of blockchain applications? Now, they quote a research study, which I brought up, but it's 84% of global total patent apps. And if you it says China has more blockchain patent applications than any other country, accounting for 84% of global total, according to the public official, demonstrating Beijing's commitment to innovation despite years of crackdowns and bans on crypto. The article further says, Information Technology released the statistics on Tuesday without specifying the time period. Blockchain accelerates economic integration, solutions for people's lives, smart cities, and administrative services, he said. Some blockchain patents involve classic internet technologies such as private processing and cryptography, said Gao Qing. Now, I'm going to go to the next page because this is connected. Now, here's the issue. Now, China, why would they do that? This is about to tell you why, and you can think about China, which has the largest economy in the world. Why they do this, and you need to understand that because they want to change the value of American dollars through the SWIFT system and everything else, so that these sanctions won't hurt them as much. As you know, with Russia and all these other topics, which we won't talk about tonight, but they want to change the value. But why would they do that? Why would they push against crypto, but at the same time want the innovation? Because they want to control it. Now, this article further says, instead, China has high hopes for a permissionless blockchain, which limits who can edit records. 3 years ago, the president said blockchain would play an important role in the coming wave of technological development and industrial advancement. According to the research by think tank Zero Finance, and I looked up the research, and I have that, and it says a patent consultant from 2015 to June 2021, China ranked first in the world in terms of blockchain applications, followed by the United States and Korea. Now, that's two things right there you just learned. One, China has more patents, but they had the least amount approved. And two, it just told you that United States and South Korea. Now, I could talk about Bybit and some other things in the United States, but this is what you need to see from an economic standpoint related to what Maximus is saying about is it possible about this network and how they resolve it. Now, according to this study, only 19%, although China has the largest applications for patents in blockchain, only 19% of Chinese applications were ultimately approved compared to 26 and 43% for the United States and Korea. So United States has more patents approved. China's engagement with blockchain is tenuous. cryptocurrencies are prohibited except for legal participation in popular foreign blockchains such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, here's the catch. This could lead China's blockchain business becoming disconnected from international community and its development efforts for Web3, a sparse next generation form of the World Wide Web that is decentralized through blockchain technology. This is what China wants to do. China's government-backed blockchain service network, BSN, has been working to separate cryptocurrencies from its ecosystem. It first launched Spartan Network last month. Researchable moment, folks. Spartan Network and BSN, just so you know, which forks major blockchains such as Ethereum, Polygon Edge, and limits the use of fungible tokens for crypto. Now, what does this mean? How does this connect? When you're looking at the financial systems and you want to see these countries, there's not going to be one country that's going to have one token to solve them all. China is saying, hey, how do we take away the effect of the American dollar? How do we control the people? How do we control information? Well, we will create a system called the Spartan system, which will make every cryptocurrency flow through us, but we'll take out the retail investors' control of it. We'll take out the developers' control of it. They don't want you to be able to edit or anything to the blockchain. They don't want you to be able to have a transition of that blockchain. They want to be control it besides two major ones. Now, why? Because they want to introduce their own blockchain service network, which if they do that, they can identify not only fraud, but they can tell you where the money is going, how the Chinese people are spending the money. Remember, they have the largest economy in the world. Now, why does that matter? Just like China, United States, Korea, and other countries, there is a war going on, a technology war. And whoever gets that finish line first will have a few hundred years of dominance. So these companies are fighting to be a part of that conversation. Whether it's the quant network being able to process and send transactions through it, or the connection that it has, the regulations are also having to take in consideration how we can have these technologies coexist with government organizations. So the question I would ask is, as we look at XRP, Quant, JASMY, Swift, and these other blockchains, what is the threat that the economic state country views that particular technology? And what are the legislations that could hinder the growth? Now, currently, right now, it's all up in the air because everyone is rushing to get to the finish line on this. But why I see it is this. In the meantime, retail investors have to understand that there's going to be major movements in the price action of these projects. And there's going to be major amount of these projects that won't go to fruition and won't make it because of the regulation that's not in their favor. So what will be important is, as Maximus brought up, if you have people in leadership and politics who are in a country who seem to be leaning toward a certain technology or company, you might want to pay attention. If you're hearing words like mandate, and as he brought up the recent bill that turned into law with in the United States, where it has both Republican and Democrats, also partisan support in, if it's in the United States or anything else, you might want to pay attention. I really like that earlier where the person watching your channel did some research and they did a screenshot and they from a Chinese website. And then they translated that. And that's what I do often. You got to go where the research takes you. And so that is important that we should keep in mind. Payments, off-ramping is important. I'm going to go to another one, Max, this other
Sure.
slide, if you don't mind. as
No, I
well.
don't mind at all. I see where that is. Hold on just a second. So this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, this is just 2 slides. My research project that I'm working on has taken me 6 weeks. I'm still not complete. I will finish it, the introduction to one of the topics. I got 4 different topics. It's going to be a series called The Money Trail, where we go through a concept I call circular economy or circular money, how the money is going from the macro being filtered through and connected. And I'm going to walk you through that. So I hope that y'all have opportunity to pay attention to this information, because you got to understand what's going on. Now, Maximus earlier mentioned iPhone, and he mentioned that too. Now, this is just one snippet. I just want to show you here. This is Metapath. Now, it's not so much I want to talk about the Metapath unless people are interested, but look, I highlighted it for you. It's Metapath, smart worldwide financial technology, and in a small print, designed for iPhone. And there's also one that's designed for the Android. Swift did the same thing, but Swift doesn't allow you to use the application in the United States, only certain countries. And Metapath was designed by Swift. That's what this is showing you on the slide, more by this developer. So Swift blockchain developed the Metapath app for both the iPhone and Android, and they developed the app for both the iPhone and Android for Swift. 2 separate companies, but are directly aligned. Now, why? Because the money circulates through there. You see, they have to consider regulations. So the reason the United States doesn't have access to it, because they're in the BRICS nation. They're in these other countries like China. Swift and Metapath, for example, they have roots in China. Ramble Land's from China. Their CMO is from China. They have recently talked about their development from a place called TI Park, where they're in Silicon Valley, which is in China, Beijing, and also in California. And TI Park is an incubator for startups to bring talent from China to the United States. It also is part of their founders has a thing called EB5 investment. That's a immigration status that allows people who have technology backgrounds or some type of technology background to come to the United States if they invest at least $800,000 to $1 million in an American company and create 10 American jobs. Now, why does that matter? The friend of my friend is my enemy. See, China has found a way to utilize the regulations that are happening in China so they can control crypto to come to the United States legally and lawfully through a congressional right that, a congressional law that was passed in 1992 called the EB5 immigration program. And they get to do 2 things. They get to take that talent, get someone to come to the United States, they get their citizenship, then they get their family citizenship, and they invest into American jobs, but they're China-owned businesses, almost like the Trojan horse. So go ahead, Maximus.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I remember years ago, I think it was, I don't know, over a decade ago, 15 years ago. I mean, I remember my buddy telling me, he's like, "Are you aware of what's going on with AMC?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And then he says, "China owns AMC." Like, we mean China owns AMC. He's like, "Look it up for yourself. Like, this is all China owned. What happens after this?" And at the time, I thought, this is just like conspiracy theory stuff and whatnot. But back to what you're saying, I mean, that turned out to be true, right? If anybody can look more into that. Back to this, like on the screen, literally you have on the screen about this, right? So Swift as an SWFT, guys, not SWIFT, not that Swift. As we know, this is like an acronym, right? So SWFT is an acronym that stands for Smart Worldwide Financial Technology Inc. So this is great research to show this. And I will state this. So based off of what Underdog was saying, for all of us, right? Whether this gets chopped up or not, I want everybody to have this key takeaway. With Underdog's research, what he talked about, especially when it comes to the BRICS nations and so on, we talk about not being on the sideline for some of these things. Some of these things, it's like it's not in alignment maybe with everybody's personal beliefs. And hey, I get that. But at the same time, understand supply and demand forces. And when I look more into this, I'm always paying attention to what's going on, like with what the BRICS nations are doing. To me, when we make statements, I know it sounds like a joke, Chinese Chinese XRP. What was the other one we talked about, a few years ago? Shout out to Live Capital. He's always covering, conflux. People call that Chinese Matic. But every single one of these have their own use case. And it's, I always overstate this. Action, reaction. The action that's being obviously going on here is what Underdog is mentioning. So when things really kick in, and if you see more of a ban from mainland China, let's just throw that out there. Mainland China, because Hong Kong is still its own separate thing. Was it since January 1st, 1998, I believe it was, to present. Technically they're part of mainland, but in reality, as far as how their governing council and how the government works, Hong Kong is its own separate entity that's more democratic, more of the Western ways, if you will. Maybe that phases out eventually. We'll have to see how that goes. But mainland China, you could totally see with what Underdog is mentioning. So if they're going to go with doing their own contained thing, then okay, does BRICS use this? And if so, is this another example, kind of like we were talking about earlier with JASMY, where you don't understand why things are flying up in market cap, where prices are going on, and it's like you're not hearing anything about it. Again, it's what it's tied to. These are great examples. I have to learn a little bit more about Metapath. I'll be honest. I've seen a little bit, introduced from you. But would you like to elaborate a little bit more in regards to your findings and, Metapath and so on? I mean, the way I look at it is, I'm willing to go the course. If you're willing to go the course, what the heck? You only live once, right? So, yeah.
Well, Maximus, thank you very much. Jason Lucas on your channel made a comment. I think that's very relevant. If you want to pull it up, I would like to speak to that. So Jason Lucas said, this is kind of scary. What if they disable the on and off ramps for retail investors? Finally, I am so happy that someone brought that up, because research brings you to the ugly side just as much as it brings you to the good side. Not only is this a relevant comment, it has already happened. I'm going to give you two examples. 3 years ago, I was starting out my channel, and there's a project that I did pretty well on called The Key. This project is no longer in existence. Another one that recently, this last year or earlier this year, I want to say basically went out of business, called Sudorusu, and it had a technology called ZK Snark, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, what does that have to do with anything? Well, both of these were based out of China. Now, the first happened with a key during that time frame was like 2020 or 2021, one of the two. The CEO post on their website, and it says a New Year's greeting, and that they were working directly with the government of China, who, because of their laws, they, unlike the United States, if the government has interest in your business, they can take your business. That's in the bylaws of the country. It's not like the United States at all. So because the government had an interest in their digital blockchain called TKY, where people can identify PII, personal identifying information, socials, driver's license, all the things they're doing now, the government says, we're going to take out the token aspect of the blockchain, and we're going to take the technology. The retail investor had no choice. So the company stopped updating their socials, stopped updating everything, and it wasn't even a rug pull. The country of China took the technology and separated the retail just like this article that I just showed you said they want to do, so that they couldn't have a financial benefit. This is a problem. However, I want to put that in a box by itself. It is possible, Jason. It is already happening, and it will continue to happen. We often think in scales as retail investors into projects of two things. I bring it all the time: binary. Either it's shield or FUD. Maybe it's because of our level of understanding of complex technologies that we only can put into those two categories. If crypto goes up really, really high, and they'll say, hey, it's a scam. If crypto crashes, they'll say, hey, it's a scam. However, in the wild, as we call it in the intelligence area and also in cyber area, the wild, that's not how business works. Most businesses in the United States go out of business within the first 5 years. Has nothing to do with whether it's scam or not. The person over the business could be a great cook if they have a restaurant, but a horrible with finances. The reality is companies go out of business, and even more so in this space. But with the added pressures of a state organization, whether it's United States or China or anything else, wanting your technology, they can absolutely put you out of business. Now, here's the thing. Put that in a separate category. The fact that, yes, that is a real risk that a technology can be acquired and extracted. And even in the United States, under certain things, technology with the Bureau of Commerce, they also over dual use technology. So look that up. Department of Commerce is over dual use technology. This is what I want you to know. One of the things that my research has brought me, Maximus's research has brought him, and Black Roo has brought him, we talked about recently, we just haven't brought it to you, but it will be coming out in my upcoming research, is these hard wallets and hot wallets. See, there's off-ramping into these wallets on purpose. So if you have a Ledger, if you have a MetaMask account, if you have an Uphold account, Token Pocket, you name the hard wallet, have you been paying attention about who is the person, who is the person that is really making moves in that area? Because all money, if needs to be off ramped. It doesn't matter if you have a digital currency, if it can't be equated into fiat, if it can't be converted to another cryptocurrency, or if you can't get into your bank account, right? So you either are using digital currencies to purchase things, which is on a ledger, or you're off ramping that digital currency to somewhere else. Who is the person who is trying to be first in that space to have the universal space? Well, that's what we talk about. So with these hard wallets, that is also an area that China is moving into, because they play 5 layers of chess, and they know that the world has to off ramp that money. If you can control the network, you can control the money. And that's what I want you all to consider is, yes, it is a very real possibility and already has been done that that the off-ramping of your cryptocurrencies can be controlled. We know this in the United States. Every time you file taxes since 2021, it asks you, do you have digital currencies? And if you say you don't have digital currencies, have you ever traded digital currencies? Then it asks you it gets reported from the major places like Binance, Cash App, and the other ones that we use to transfer money. And if you don't say it, then they'll send a report, and then you'll file your taxes, and you'll get a notice from the IRS if you get audited, and you have to pay those taxes. Only regulation they have on that in the United States is if you purchase, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm just giving you information based on my knowledge. But only information that's updated is if you buy crypto on a Tuesday and it's Ethereum, and you buy one whole Ethereum token for $3,000 something, and you make it's from fiat to Ethereum. If you make no trade, that means you don't buy JASMY, you don't buy Swift, you don't buy anything else with that Ethereum. If it just sits there, then there's no taxable event. But if you spend it one time, if you break it down from that Ethereum that you purchased and you buy one other thing, you just had a taxable event. There's capital gains taxes that you're going to have to pay. So regulation controls your movement. So this whole concept of Bitcoin is so different from the original concept of not having any type of control and anonymity, right? Is now becoming centralized in its use in ETFs and everything else. So it is very interesting times we're in right now, Maximus. And I'll stop right there because I know I've talked a lot. I didn't talk about Metapath, any of those things, but I wanted to share that since he brought it up. I thought that was a great point.
Yeah, his response was ugh, right? So, guys, I want to also point this out, okay? So, you heard what Underdog shared with us. Great explanation and so on. Now, there's a key part, Underdog, that you mentioned in regards to taking the coins out of the equation. Remember how you said that? One thing I love to do is when we have great people like yourself with awesome research, share what you have, and then you have somebody, whether it's me or whoever else, pound home what you just shared. Guys, stick around. You're going to be glad for this bonus coverage. This is going to pound home that much more of what Underdog Crypto was talking about. Underdog Researcher, right? With what he's sharing. This is really, really cool. What a privilege. What a great bonus to have him on. Look at this for a second. So, we were talking about some of these key things. I'll just put it to this particular slide, and then I'll show you some other things just to catch you up on like what we talked about the other day. So I'm going to go ahead and share this as well. Again, this is bonus coverage, and just to give you guys a heads up, and also you, Underdog, I want to make a quick announcement before I get into this. Guys, this is the biggest broadcast we've ever had. 1,508 people, 95 currently on YouTube, 1,413 on X. Wow. RIP DMX. X gonna give it to you. Wow. You know what I mean? So with that said, forget you getting on your own. Research gonna deliver it to you, right? Anyway, all right. I'll stop being corny. So with that said, check this out. My goodness, and give a follow to Underdog Researcher, the Underdog Researcher channel. There's 1,508 people here. Can we have at least a minimum of 10% of that follow Underdog on his channel, sub to his channel? You appreciate this deep dive content. So check this out. Underdog mentioned some of these key things. I want you, if anybody's, you guys are obviously taking the extra long time to hear it out. You're excited about some of this stuff. The numbers are not dropping. So that's cool. Check this out. So Underdog mentioned, like we said, will China drop the actual coins? Like, you know, we talk about crypto coins and so on. That's a great question. What is Quant doing? Well, I mentioned this the other day, but I want to pound home his research. As you can see on the screen, we're going to zoom in a little bit more about this. So, you see here, this was the event from yesterday, full screen, Lisbon, Portugal, 18th to 19th. Technically, this was day 2 of the event, right? EBA day. I was talking about that with Underdog and everybody here. Here's the point. The point is landscape of different forms of money. And most importantly is understanding these different forms of money. Unit account, medium exchange, store of value. As we pointed out yesterday, public and private, liability of private issuers, and so on. We already made these connections. We already talked about it. We even talked about the Quant connection. But here's the other thing. As you can see on this panel, you have some big players. We point out some of them some are from Citi. Some are from, I believe the lady on the far right, I don't quote me, but she might be HSBC. It could be wrong. That's not the issue. Gilbert Verdian gave the warning. And look what it says on this part of the screen. So it says crypto features vary, private, no liability. And look what it says. Everybody who for the longest time that were wondering about your ISOs. Remember how there's people, again, I'm not going to name the guy. Some of you guys know who this guy is. He stated they'll never use banker coins. Remember how he said that? They'll never use banker coins. Well, look at this. Shows plain as day crypto coins issued by a protocol. What would it be, that protocol? As the native coin of the DLT. What would be the native coin in this example? It's obviously what? It is the QNT token. Now, for some people are saying, again, and this is a little bit me just pounding home from yesterday, saying there's no way that the banks are going to use QNT for settlement. Great answer. I got an answer for that. Just like I mentioned yesterday. Exactly. Gilbert Verdian already thought about this in advance, everybody. This is why the Overledger will allow you to quickly switch to settle in what? Real-time gross settlements, XRPL. Okay, what about trade? XDC. Okay, what about some of these other things? Oh, we got a problem with, remember how, Underdog was talking about, I think you're talking about EVM or ZK. Okay, what about ZK EVM? Notice and appreciate all these ones that took the liberty to do ZK EVM compatibility, right? That is your Polygon connection. Okay, does Overledger do that? That was one of the latest reports, was it not? So you have Polygon, and what was another recent report? Polygon has its own, they are ISO now. They're not 222, but they're ISO standard, okay? A different particular one. Then we were like, well, what about like data? Okay, IOTA shows on the Overledger switching to IOTA. And by the way, like I said before, most of us are connected tonight is because of JASMY. I just want to throw it out there. If you see opportunity for IOTAs, not financial IOTAs, this is what I'm personally doing. If JASMY had its moment, which obviously it is, because it's Japan and so on, for what it's been doing, IOTA, to a sense, has a very similar tech, does it not? We've investigated this. We researched this. So with that said, IOTA will have its moment when the mandate rolls out. November 2025. Remember me saying this? I'm going to call it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's okay. I'll never be that guy that comes on camera. You guys know who that guy is too. Every day he says he's right. Not going to be that guy. But the research solidifies, in my opinion, shows, you know what, this kind of looks like this is what's going to happen. So IOTA part of that mix. Again, Overledger. And then, what does Gilbert mention with the Overledger? He says, we have a support for over 100 plus blockchains for being fully interoperable, no longer 3 lines of code, but being able to do the thing of now it's no code. And if you don't see your blockchain on the list, let us know, and we'll work something out. Wow. So again, action reaction. Back to what Underdog was talking about. I'll full screen it one more time, because this answers the whole thing in regards to crypto coins. Those coins, you better believe, are being used in some form or capacity. But the beautiful thing is the orchestrator, the conductor, Gilbert Verdian, Quant Network, with what they got going on, because ISO TC307 complements it all. Now, would I want to hold both QNT and Swift with Swiftcoin with what they're doing? Absolutely. If one, it's kind of like that pendulum that swings from one way or to another, or a weigh scale. You know, one thing does this, the other does this. So when I hold both for one, both do their thing. Am I too far off when it comes to this? And I'm going to get into a little bit more from my findings, but I just thought I'd pound that home because you mentioned that, Underdog. You said, will the reaction be that China decides to heck with this? We're going to do our own thing. We're going to get rid of coins. And then to show that screenshot, and that event is day 2? Holy cow.
I enjoy it. I enjoy listening, and because I learned something, and I also, again, as researchers, you know, you're not in an empty silo. You know, we have to use a research, and then we build off of that research, and we test it, and we go through it. And so I think that is so important. Switching modes to the retail side of things for just a moment, I often don't talk about, and I think everyone knows it. Well, you probably, if you don't know me, I often don't talk about price action. For me, it's not really relevant, honestly, because it doesn't really mean anything. I don't control the prices. Prices go up and down, and most of the time, when we think about prices, people want the token to go up, but they haven't bought and they don't continue to buy. If you don't buy every day and you're waiting for somebody else to do it, it's called a bystander effect. So prices vary. We have to engage. Now, what I will say is this: the retail side of things, from my research that I've done, we should see activity moving into Q4 of 2024, and then going into the first quarter of 2025. Okay, let me start back. a majority of my research, and no matter what I am researching, continue to talk about the economic status of different countries and different releases going into the summer and the third quarter and starting in the fourth quarter. Now, companies who are much smarter than me, who have more resources, such as Fidelity, I pay attention to one of their people called Catherine Young. Now, she's over the China focus. That's her whole area. They bring in billions of dollars, if not trillions, each year. They have people in departments who get paid well over six figures to study China. I'm going to go with those. I don't have those type of resources. So based on them, they talk about a thing called the V-shaped economy. And what that means is, if you look at the economy, a V shape will be starting here, goes down, and then upward swing, V. They stated that in the past, we expected big money, big companies to move GDP and economic growth, but that is starting to go away. What the China focus for Fidelity is that they have invested in a suite, she calls it, of well-managed, well-run Chinese companies. Now, we can apply this to the United States and everything else. I'm talking about China because you're talking about JASMY. We're talking about, and that's not in China, but you get what I'm saying. You're talking about an Asian country, then we have to move with the economics in that Asian country. We have to be aware of it. We can't do research unless we understand how it connects to different economic stances, not just the United States. That's a fatal research flaw, is to only look at the economic status in the country that you live in. You got to find out about policies, how it's moving, and where it connects. Now, what I see happening is in the next 14 months is that some of these projects, the thing that we call increase that we've seen, is nothing. When it hits, if you are in the right one, because you leverage your research, you use your resources, which that's what Maximus Crypto is doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what Black Roo is doing. This is a resource that you didn't do yourself. So you don't have the time to do it. So we're doing it for you. Use it. If you're in the right one, if Maximus is correct, and again, I want to say this because he doesn't have to be correct. All he has to do is provide the research. We all only can use open source research that is available for you too. So none of us can predict the future, but the thing that we call bullish is getting that nugget, that string, and pulling at that string. And like Maximus, 8 hours on one topic, an 8-hour live stream. I can't even talk for 8 hours straight. Nevertheless, that means that for him to do 8-hour live stream, then his amount of time researching the topic so he could be well versed in it is quite a bit more substantial. So I can imagine he took weeks, if not months, to go through research to provide anyone 8 hours of topics. That is extraordinary. So as you listen to this information, it might seem like a shotgun blast, but if you could do this is my research tip for you. So if you could take anything from what I go and talk about today, here's a research tip. Don't use a live stream for just the sake of doing a live stream. I have a Microsoft Word document up. When I listen to Maximus Crypto, which I do, Black Roo Investing, even my own research, I can't remember it all. So I take notes, no different than if I was to study for a test. And here's why. What sense would it make not to take notes on something I put my financial interest from my hard-earned money into? Who does that? No one guesses in life and with their money. You don't want to lose it. So even if Maximus says something, for example, if he says something and I listen to it and I'm like, I didn't see it that way, I then put it, is it his opinion or is it research? It could be opinion based on research too. But whether it's, quote, good or bad, which I don't believe there's any such thing as good or bad research, I think that research is really good, I can utilize that. If Maximus told me tomorrow, hey, underdog researcher, I just want you to know JASMY is going to go to 10 cents. My first question would be, why do you believe it's going to go 10 cents? Now, if he says to me, because I felt like it in my heart, I'll say, thank you very much. And that's it. I won't think more of it than tell him thank you. But that's not him. He says, well, I saw A, B, and C. And based on A, B, and C, it led me to C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P. And then I say, okay, I don't need to go through that much. I'm going to look at C, and I like what F said. But you know what? I think 60% of what B said, I don't agree with you, or I agree with you. But either way, I just got research. I was able to utilize it as a resource. So then how does it affect me? I go to my portfolio and I make adjustments. Not just based on what Maximus said, based on the research I had an opportunity that he told me about. Because if he hadn't told me about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I would not have known that thing. And that one thing could make the difference between a substantial amount of wealth or me moving my assets to something else. That's the power of research. So I just think it's so important what you're talking about. I'll put a pause there. I want to make sure you engage with you. What's your thoughts about that, Max?
I think you're spot on. I do tell people that consistently, actually. You know, I say, guys, don't just. It's nothing against the other people because I'm not a toxic person, right? But we do see that too often. You know, I call it fluff. Other people call it fluff. You know, I align myself with people like yourself, Rue, and so on, because I say, why wouldn't I want to collaborate with guys like you? You match that style of research. So this channel has always been about deep dives, and I do get criticism now and then. You know, try to chop it up, make it shorter. And, you know, I've heard the constructive criticism. I'm trying to do some of that to you know, appeal to both sides, and that's good. You know, like as the saying goes, you got to be coachable. Totally am, right? I'm with you. I'm with you 100% on it. Like, you know, we could talk about JASMY, talk about a lot of these things. You got to back up the reasons of what I would say or call it, you know, utility in motion. What you talked about earlier. It's like, how will this be put into motion? That's where it's at with me. A little bit more about this. Now, back to Underdog. This is bonus coverage. I don't do this all the time. This is really crucial to pay attention to some of the stuff. Why? With research. It's not hype. I know it sounds a little hype because I'm excited. But I want to share this. This is also pounding it home about what Underdog mentioned. Let's share this. Number one, on the screen. Boom. Let's full screen this. You see here, specifically speaking, like I mentioned the other day, I think it's elaborating a little bit more. Are you aware of the recent news? Remember how I was talking about that the digital dollar is coming, guys, and it's coming like you have no idea? And we understood and showed proof with our latest deep dives of USDF and Quant. So USDF proud to participate in industry-wide initiatives such as the Regulated Settlement Network. So I was right on that one, Underdog. RSN, Proof of Concept. This project is a collaborative effort by large banks, payment networks, and other regulated and financial institutions to explore how the creation of a shared ledger, or like I also mentioned, with recent connections, unified ledger, that includes commercial banks, commercial bank deposits specifically, bank reserves, U.S. Treasury securities, back to what Larry Fink literally was interviewed about recently on, what was it, CNBC and Fox Business, give or take, maybe both. He mentioned some of this stuff. Another thing I want to get into is, look what it says in regards to those, you know, the other part, sorry, Treasury securities, tokenized assets, especially tokenized assets, might improve settlement infrastructure in the United States. We already understand we have the infrastructure, especially with what Quant Network is doing. Why else would the BIS pick it? Why else would Bank of England pick it? Why else are you seeing literally, like Augustine Karsten's mentioned, you know, when we talk about the Finternet, okay? You have a case of central banks, the central banks of central banks, if you will, coming together, and they have literally chose to do a centralized marketplace for all of this. And that's another deep dive we already established. But USDF's participation ensures that banks of all sizes have a seat at the table as we explore these systems. Back to what? Back to this. This was introduced as a direct reaction, literally 1 to 2 weeks, give or take, after the 31st. From what, guys? C-SPAN shared this. Shout out to Rob, Crypto Future 99. I think he shared this, a 5-hour stream. I remember him sharing this as well. Talking about Nadine Chakar, okay, who's a former State Street executive, CEO, I believe. She's now part of this other thing, I think it's called DTCC. In the interview, she talks about how all the testing was already done, how they did it with Quant Network, and then what did we see after that interview? Shortly after, like maybe fast forward a couple weeks, so about roughly 1 to 2 weeks ago, like right around the 31st, right around when Swift, as an SWIFT, made its posting, right? An alignment, and we see Nadine Chakar and also Mr. Dominic Rodrigo from Securitize meeting with House Democrats, pitching it to that body, right, in front of all those House Democrats, saying, look, we're done sharing use cases. We already educated you last year. We saw examples of Danelle Dixon from Stellar and other people already explaining use cases to both Republicans and Democrats. But this time it was just House Democrats, because Republicans last year were already on board with it. So this time it was House Democrats. And it showed, look, test phases are done. We're going with this. Now, recent developments cited from Gilbert Verdian about the US dollar, the digital dollar. I know that sounds crazy because I know some states say they'll never do it, but that's CBDCs. That's a different thing. Will Fix pointed that out on his channel and did a deep dive about great stuff. But I want to state this. So they shared that. Then fast forward to yesterday, today, well, still today here for me. Yes, one more left, 1 hour left on the 19th. But the 18th and 19th, Gilbert Verdian, Quant Network, a bunch of rock stars, if you will, going to Lisbon, Portugal, and saying, look, guys, this is what's going on. And what's going on is let's just be honest, you've been warned. You know, I'm telling you flat out, you guys got to get on board with this because the mandate's going to come. Back to what we mentioned with the Swift website. So look at this for a second. Despite the promise of this technology, at present there's a significant regulatory uncertainty that limits banks' ability to adopt these innovations. As highly regulated institutions, any new offering by banks is subject to scrutiny, but tokenization, on the other hand, initiatives are being held to an even higher standard. What about the Quant Network standard, ISO TC 307? The standard for building on blockchain. We should look at Quant as being the 21st century version of like Henry Ford in the assembly line, but like literally on blockchain, right? Microsoft, a blockchain. It's amazing. So it talks about the whole thing of, you know, even higher standards, but most importantly, clear authority to do this. Again, that's the next step, excuse me. And any bank wishing to undertake a blockchain project must receive formal regulatory approval. This is why this is all coming together. I'm telling you flat out. We heard the rumors, and I've been there too, guys. I remember at the end of 2021, hearing the concept at that time that it's going to be crypto Wild West still until we get regulations. This is literally what's going on. Okay, so it says this approval process does not exist and is not required when utilizing other technologies. Now, if you jump over to this other part, back to what, like, kind of like what, you know, Underdog was talking about. This is cited from Quant Network, and you know, we're gonna probably wrap this up in a little bit because, you know, I want to respect everybody's time. You have backed stablecoins. What's a brief summary? A stablecoin backed by collateral held in reserve. Look at this. Backed or collateralized stablecoins are tokens that are backed by other sources, including fiat currency, other cryptocurrencies, precious metals, and algorithmic functions. Now, we understand some of this, but what is important is the highlights. Watch this for a second as well. What was the news? And I shared this the other day. I know I'm sharing it again, but again, I want to pound this home. Action, reaction, supply meets demand forces. Digital Pound Foundation, you know the plug and connect with Quant. We don't even need to get into that. But Uphold announced that they have been notified that its European users will have to cease support for 6 stablecoins effective July 1st. That's right, in a few weeks. Aligning with what? MiCA regulations. Shout out to Rue. We've been covering a lot in regards to MiCA. Tokenizer and so on. But users must convert the stablecoins by June 28th, the end of this month, after which they'll be automatically converted to USDC. And guess what? I don't have the video for tonight, but in the previous video, check out that part where Gilbert Verdine specifically mentions that exact same thing yesterday, warning the central banks and so on to get on board because the mandate is coming and we're converting it to USDC. Even there is your Stellar plug, okay? And look what it says. Uphold delisting Tether and 5 other stable coins to comply with what? MiCA. Interesting. So MiCA, you already have that whole thing with XDC, already done that. And last but not least, let's share this on the screen just because, you know, we have that random guy. I don't see the price moving. I don't see the Quant logo. And I don't see where it says Quant anywhere. Big scam. Of course, you don't see it because you got to take a deeper dive and understand it is the foundation for building on blockchain. So with that said, glad to have you guys here tonight and glad to have Underdog Research Channel here. I think Underdog took off, probably had to get going, but guys, that's where it's at, and that's where it's always going to be at for me. So just want to point that out. Want to get back into the comments for just a brief moment, and let's see here. Let's read this. I think, if anything, yeah, Underdog had to take off, and that's okay. I got to take off too. I got to end this thing. But yeah, that's where it's at. All right, so any thoughts on SHX? Yeah, I'll give that to you guys a little bit later. Let's see here. Jay's Diecast Creations. I know nothing, but I've been watching you guys talk for nearly 2 hours and taking notes about halfway through. Thank you. You're welcome. Been an amazing conversation. So do you both. Thank you. Excellent show tonight, fellas. Thanks, Jason. Bledu is here. I think we lost connection from Underdog, so there he is. Let's take a pause. So, yeah, I mean, I think you saw that last part. I was just sharing this last slide in regards to... Hold on, let me share it one more time, Underdog. Did you see this part? I don't know if you did. About this. They don't see the logo. Do you see all that, Underdog?
Could you give me the last 1 minute of what you said? I missed it because I got kicked off.
Oh, no, I was just saying, like, you know, it's kind of like a little bit this, like, you know, this about Uphold delisting, and then, you know, the whole thing with MiCA, you know, Rue obviously covers that as well. You know, the stereotypical guy of, I don't see the Quant logo, doesn't say Quant anywhere. And then they just don't understand it's the foundation for building on blockchain.
Yeah, by the time you wait for a company or them to announce it, it's going to be too late. Besides, these companies buy economically when the prices are low. So when there is a crash in the market or the market economy is down, that's when they move, just like we move on the smaller micro level. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're trying to set up the foundation.
Absolutely. It sees here, you have something that you wanted to share?
Yeah, it's just show this one thing because this was, again, this shows how our independent research continues to intersect. I want to bring something up about XRP and also Stellar that I researched and I provided in a previous conversation on my research on Swift. This came up. So I think I uploaded it. Let me know if you got it.
Yeah, I got it. I'm gonna go ahead and add it. And by all means, don't feel like you're rushed. Just let me know when you got to get going.
Okay.
But I will state this after this, old Max gotta shut it off because I do have work in the morning, and I can't believe the time. My God, it's 11:15. I start at 6.
I know. I wasn't expecting to. I thought I'd just say hi and bye too. So, but it's good. It's been a pleasure. I'll show you this, and then it just adds to reinforce your point. So, folks, this is the research I did a few weeks ago. Now, my plan for research has always been this time around. I've been doing this for about 3 years on a public platform. Was to focus on about 5 projects because people get overwhelmed. So I'm just going to take those projects and go as deep as possible. But during my course, my research about cross-border payments, I want you to take a screenshot, take a look at this. This is a document that's online called Central Bank Digital Currencies for Cross-Border Payments. It was released on November 2021 and by the World Bank Group. First page, let me go to that. So let's just read this part. Page 31, I marked at the top. This is in my $1 billion blueprint as well. Stablecoins for cross-border payments. Stablecoins refer to a class of digital currencies. I'll skip that part. Let's get to right point. 2 digital currencies that fall into the category is Ripple's network, native digital currency, Ripple XRP. It's site 69. So if you look at the original report, there's a lot of information. And Stellar's network, right side by side, a cryptocurrency, Stellar Lumen, XLM. Both Ripple and Stellar enable faster and more efficient cross-border payments relative to corresponding banking. However, they differ that the former aims to improving cross-border settlement. That's what Maximus was talking about earlier, about between international banks, whereas the latter aims at providing low-cost cross-border payment financial services to end users and the unbanked. So let's make sure that we're understanding what's going here. Before I even move to the next 2 slides, first, we can't bunch everything together and then have a conversation about it unless you do exactly what the World Bank is telling you to do. World Banking Group. This was in Washington, D.C. The areas that they are addressing with one is cross-border payments and settlements, and other one end users and unbanked. These are all different areas of research that each part has to pay attention. Now, moving to page 32 of that same thing, stablecoins for cross-border payments address these frictions. Solutions have emerged across different sectors, large corporates such as fintechs operating on global scale. Again, these are the key words that throw out to me. Entering the payment space are able to address a number of these frictions through their reach in various jurisdictions. Again, it's telling you it's not just here, jurisdiction, global scale. These firms are able to timely and transparently facilitate cross-border payments by simply engaging in transfer pricing activities between their operations across jurisdiction. Now it goes to the different SWIFT. In doing so, they also potentially benefit from tax arbitrage. Arbitrage means a difference in prices, like an exchange can have a price of $1, another exchange at a price of $1.50 on a token. That's an arbitrage. Swift has launched and is actively expanding the core functionality of Swift GPI platform discussed earlier to facilitate the instant and always on transmission payments across borders. In addition, these initiatives, and it goes into these protocols. Now, the last page, stakeholders and groups like commercial banks led by HSBC, other banks and groups were overseas Chinese banking corporations, Toronto Dominion Bank, United Overseas Bank, KPMG. This is the researchable moment, folks. You better pay attention. If you're looking at XRP, you're looking at Stellar, you want to know what banks were come from all over the world to Washington, D.C. in 2021, and they discussed XRP and Stellar, and specifically these why they discussed them. This is here. And here it goes. These participants to discuss views on this topic and compiled views from the assist in the development of the report. So I want you to, the last thing that I have is this, and then I'll be happy to say goodnight to everyone. I appreciate you coming out. What's the takeaway from this? What Maximus has done successfully is go further than the macro scale. Now let me start again. He's went further than the micro scale of talking about a token. That is that if your viewpoint's narrowed to a retail investor, all you see is that token. What he has successfully done is open your mind to the larger conversation that matters, that's going to affect, is international and worldwide banking globally. It's 2024 now. If 3 years ago, if you go to this report, I'm going to go to the front of this so that you can see this before we leave and screenshot it. Here it is. If 3 years ago, look at the list of banks that came to the United States representatives. They represented their countries, they represented these banking institutions, and they talked about this project and how they utilize it. Take away all that high level of mumbo jumbo and focus on what was the conclusion. Look at this as references and research. What I can tell you, I try not to step on other people's research. My research has continued to circle back around, and I see synergies between what Maximus has said, Black Roo has said, and what I'm finding. And I'm purposely not even looking at JASMY, and I'm purposely not looking at some of the same projects because it's well covered. There's no reason for me to add value when the value is already being provided by Maximus and Black Roo and those topics. So I'm talking about something else. But because the overarching conversation is about money transfer and connections and networks, that is the point. They keep coming back. Maximus, that's all I have. I want to share that with your audiences. So when you make these videos, they should look that up. My next announcement, and then that's all I have for tonight, is that I have a series that I'll be releasing. It started with the Billionaire Blueprint, and the next series called The Money Trail. And this was started with a simple research into Metapath. I sequester myself when I do research. I don't look at anyone else's research. I don't read anything other than what I find. I find that I don't want to have any bias. That's how I research. So I don't talk to people. That way I can look it up after I conduct my research. Then I go and refer back. So like tonight, I spoke to Maximus. I hear Maximus speaking. I would sequester myself and research into those topics. And then if I can come to the same conclusion, and I have a blind study, that gives me confirmation, and I continue to research. So what I want you to know, there's going to be a 4-part series. By Sunday of this week, I'm releasing the first of that part, which is going to be Metapath, the overview. My overviews is not reading the white paper, folks. My overviews are very specific. I'm going to talk to you about the connection that you didn't know. Who owns Metapath? We're going to talk about that. How's Metapath connected to another project? And here's a spoiler alert. I gave you a stellar note on Maximus Crypto's channel for the first time. So here's a spoiler alert. I have come to find out there's going to be 2 new tokens launched that no one's talking about that's connected. And it's going to be on Binance. And it has backings from 2 new billionaires connected to the project.
Oh, man.
That's coming out.
Can you imagine somebody just connecting, hearing that? I'd be like, give me, right? Like, like Binance and all that and all those connections. Billionaire, what?
Yes, sir.
Stellar, what?
I'm telling you. So that's what's coming up. And then the next one is going to be the last 3 will be part of the series. So once you check it out, it'll be also a Swift coin. It's called Circular Money. And then Metapath, the circular economy. I'm going to walk you through from beginning to the end and show you the multiple layers of connections in a concise way and show you how all the money and the billionaires lead back to each other. I can tell you this before we go, folks. These moves are not for us. We are only getting the benefit from the crumbs that is falling from these billionaires' pockets. The crumbs will make you a lot of money potentially. The crumbs are valuable. I get that. But these people are dealing in billions, where we're dealing in 5 figures. They're dealing in billions upon trillions of dollars that they are going to make. They could care less about your little retail money. Sorry. but they do care about their own pockets. And if we can do what Maximus is doing and what I'm trying to do and Black Ruth trying to do, have you see these connections and be in a position, then maybe you can catch some of those crumbs off their plate and it can make life-changing changes for you. So that's all I have, Maximus. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform today.
It's been a pleasure, my friend, and glad to do the collaboration, the surprise collaboration with you. Thank you so much for that. Guys, here's the channel once again. Let's give them a plug. Underdog Research Channel. Some of you guys ask what cold storage solution I use. I use this, and it is the Decent Wallet. All right. I also, of course, have a ledger like this. All right. You can get a discount basically from going into the affiliate link, which is in all the live video descriptions and recorded and so on. And for the yahoos that are out there, they're like, this is just a shield. And, you know, we'll point this out. And it's a great point. Were you aware that you don't necessarily get a discount link just going straight to the site? No, you actually have to go through a platform like this. So how cool is that? You know, I don't think anybody's complaining about that. But anyway, use the link, get a discount. There's another one here. If you're the type of person you want to get one for you and your significant other, you could get two of them. They actually have another promotion, which is this, and I think this is cool. You can get an all-in-one card wallet plus backup card package. Interesting. I thought that was cool. And again, one of the main key things I like about the Decent Wallet is not having to do the red tape of jumping through all the hoops for XDC and the custom folder. I mean, Edward Vincent can vouch on that. Some of you guys can too as well in regards to Ledger. That was a pain in the butt. You don't have that problem. You literally open up your phone. It's on your app. Track everything that's going on, right? And, saying goes, not your keys, not your crypto. You know the drill. Check it all out, though, if you wish to do so. It is truly the cold storage solution that I use for the most part. There's still some on Ledger that, I kind of split it up on it and so on. So it is what it is. But if I have preference over one, I'm going with this one. A lot easier to use and so on. And some people, even to this day, still ask me which one to use.